Yes, we haven't disappeared. I'm pretty sure most of you thought we'd reached that promised land of 10,000 subs. Well done, by the way.
Thank you.
10,000
Thank you.
subs.
Yeah, I'd like to say it was a team effort, but it's mainly me and it that's carried this podcast for the last
every single
3 years. Let's be honest with you.
To
know what I mean? Like, you know, come on. I think at least 9,800 of them are Erik and me.
Yeah.
You've done your little bit.
You've got an extended family. Right, okay, anyway, this is Scotty and Motty. It's a Christmas special. We've got producer Joe on from the Sloppy Joe
Smith from the Sloppy Joe.
We are mashing shit up tonight. So thank you everybody that's subscribed so far.
It's so nice to finally be on a podcast with Joe Smith. I never ever do any video content with him. Like, I can't remember last time me and him was on a video together. Because obviously on Paddock, it's McCullough and Howson that do all the vids. And me and Joe just sort of, you know, we now and again we'll go on something. Yeah. So it's nice to finally get him on camera.
Anything to add to that, Joe?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'll just echo what you said. It's a rarity, isn't it?
I think we've only done about 304 videos in the last 2 months. It is a rarity. Yeah, we haven't done a video for I think a week, which by our standards is a long time.
Yeah.
But we're back here. Do you know whenever I look at photos of me and you, like even that recent one on that intro, we change a lot, don't we?
Life is hard.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you had a beard then. I forget you had a beard. Yeah, of course, man.
Okay,
but do you know what I mean? Like, it's mad how we do fluctuate a lot. But we thought we'd have a little chat, catch up. We'll, you know, as always, we'll talk about all sorts. But first things first, obviously, United and that.
Yeah, United and that. Could I just say, did you see my tweet yesterday? When I went fishing?
Was it good?
It was good.
What did you say?
I got called a nonce, a dickhead. Something like, did your mum drop you at birth? Because
I sent you a few tweets, right? You don't need to say it on camera. I'm sorry.
I know your I know your burner account.
Yeah.
Basically, I put out at the end of the game yesterday, pathetic, absolutely embarrassing. How they can show their faces in public, I have no idea. What did I say? And then it was the worst Man United team in Premier League history, and the best they could do was a goalless draw. I had so many United fans going like that. You like go and support Arsenal,
but isn't that's the dig at Liverpool, isn't it?
Obviously,
yeah, that's the joke. Yeah. It's like you're setting it up with your 1-2 where you think, oh, he's having a dig. Yeah. It's a staple of Twitter when you know what I mean. If you know what you're doing,
switcheroo.
It's a switcheroo, isn't it? You make people think they go in one way and then boom, you go in the other.
That's it. There was a lot of drunk people last night tweeting me, calling me all sorts.
Do you know my favourite moment on Twitter? Right, when you got a bit of grief, right, one day. People trying to get you cancelled and all that because you dared to stick up for some black people, and in solidarity, I took myself off Twitter. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm like, do you know what I mean? I said, I'm not having it. My boy's getting grief. People trying to get him sacked, atting his employer and all that pathetic little grasses. So I said, I'm coming off Twitter, right? I said, I'm not doing Twitter. If Scotty's not on it, I'm not on it because he took himself off, right? And I remember saying to you, like, after about a month, so I said, nah, bro, I'm with you. I'm not. You know what? You're not on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. And he was like, I'm back now.
Been back 2 weeks.
I was like, what? You could have told me. I didn't know because I'm not on it. Yeah. But I was like, I got fuming because I don't mind. Like, listen, we're big boys. We can take grief. Do you know what I mean? I've always said I'd rather people would give me abuse than not talking about me. But when people start going at your employer, trying to get you sacked for an opinion that's not even like that bad. Fair enough if you were out like committing horrible crimes or whatever. But you just sharing an opinion which was pretty accurate.
Do you know what the tweet was as well? It was about the England team being made up of people, of families from elsewhere. So it said, what a great multicultural goal scored by a multicultural. And then it's like, you can't say stuff like that. You work for the BBC. It's, you're provoking. You're supposed to sit on the fence between being racist.
Yeah. Not all racism I agree, but some of it's okay.
Got one leg on the far right and one leg on the far left. How do you do that?
I don't know how you do it in the BBC. And it's always very vague in it, like the whole Gary Lineker thing as well. Like Gary Lineker's allowed to say certain things and other things he's not allowed to say. And now he's allowed to say whatever he wants. And then why do people always lose their mind about Gary Lineker's opinion anyway? I've never understood that. Do you know what I mean? Like people proper get enraged only if Gary Lineker says something. It's really odd. Erik and I got that point though that you went fishing with. Me and Joe were talking about this on the Palette podcast before. What do you think it does for him? Do you think this alleviates a bit of pressure?
It alleviates a bit of pressure, but I think I said a few weeks ago that I think it's more sort of inevitable that he will leave Man United by the end of the season. Yeah, I don't think he can turn it around. I don't think I can think of any example of any manager at any club that has performed this below expectations, regardless of injuries, and managed to keep their job. If you look at him compared to his predecessors who've lost their jobs, the likes of Solskjaer or Jose Mourinho, similar sort of level, Moyes, you know what I mean, at this stage of the season. So I just can't keep him saving his job. Saying that, I've been very critical, and I think I've been just in doing so recently due to the performances. I think the performance at Anfield was probably one of the better performances under Ten Hag, and I'll tell you why, because 0-0 in any given season, the way Liverpool is a good result.
Yeah, of course it is.
Right. And I've been critical of Ten Hag because of a lack of identity and a lack of structure and system in play. That's the first time in a long time I've seen him set his stall up, and I'm saying, he's playing pragmatic football. Like, I can see what he's trying to do. And I've been critical because, okay, he's had the injuries and maybe not have like the calibre of players at his disposal. But I always felt it's a bit naive that he's not playing to the strengths that he's got. And yesterday it's shown a pragmatic side that I've not seen in the past. So I think, perversely, as, it wasn't the greatest game to watch, we went there and we pissed them off mightily. That's 3 points in the bag anyway.
Of course it is. Joe, I know me and you spoke about this extensively, but we have got Joe from the Sloppy Joe's podcast with us, so we'll get his opinion. Me and you got a bit of grief, didn't we, son? At the final whistle. But for me, it felt a mixture of celebrating the fact that everyone thought we were going to lose, and it's a bit of relief mixed in there. Yeah. And I was proud of the team. I felt proud of the performance. It wasn't a great performance. I'm not going to pretend it was, but he battled, he stuck with it, and if you look at who we had available and also the performances of certain players, especially players like Kobbie Mainoo, for example, I thought, it was a hard-earned and well-earned point.
Yeah, I mean, like you said there, Scotty, about expectation and this team playing below that. This is one of the few times where the result, not the performance necessarily, but the result was above expectation. Yeah. That's why, West Ham celebrated the Europa Conference League like it was one of the greatest nights in the club's history, because for them, that's a fantastic thing, and that's not a knock on them. But if Man City found themselves in the Europa Conference League next season, they probably wouldn't celebrate winning it the same way West Ham did, even though it's the same achievement, because expectation and the contrast of expectation to reality is what leads to celebration and excitement. There's a reason why City fans don't really care when they win another league anymore, because that is just the expectation. Whereas, let's say Aston Villa won it this season, they would go ballistic. And
so would I, to be fair. Yeah. If Villa won the league, I'd celebrate like United win the league, because I don't care about Villa.
And the expectation for United,
they don't offend me. I don't mind them. Do you know what I mean? I hate City, I hate Liverpool, and in fact, you know what I do? I hate Arsenal as well. So if any of them win it, it's gonna emotionally scar me. Yeah. If Villa win it, that's like Leicester. Did that bother you?
It's the Agbon Lahore thing that would do my head in.
Why?
Because he'd be happy, wouldn't he, with that?
He's probably that thick he wouldn't even notice. Do you know what I mean? He'd probably forget he played for him.
He thinks he plays for Birmingham.
Yeah, he'd be like, I can't believe Villa have won the league. I'm gutted as a former Birmingham player. So no, Gabby, you used to play for Villa. Oh yeah, all right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't let Gabby on Bonlahor affect your life. He's just, honestly, he's even by ex-footballer standards, he's thick, innit? Let's not beat around the bush. He is. But no, I know what you mean, and I just thought for once we can build on it, because we've had these results before. The Brentford game felt like a moment, didn't it? Those 2 late goals, and yet we didn't build on it. Just looking at some of the other games as well, like obviously Liverpool are flying, Villa doing all right, City with a bit of a strange one. Did you see that this weekend?
Yeah, 2-0 up and then they fluffed the line.
Yeah, Palace. What is going on with Palace against City, man? They love a little performance against Man City, don't they?
I mean, performance. I loved the Roy Hodgson video that was going around, him laughing and losing his shit because of Pep.
Oh. Did you see that, Joe?
No.
Roy Hodgson was laughing money at final. Was it the final whistle?
Yeah. Pep was like completely throwing his dummy over the roof of the Etihad, and it landed in fucking Tameside because it went that far. And then Roy Hodgson's chuckling away. Like your granddad when you slip on your ass at Christmas or something.
Yeah, it was a proper granddad laugh.
75 years old.
Yeah, I think he is 76. I think.
It's insane, that, isn't it?
That is, man. It is. He looks. You can. I don't want to be mean. You can tell he's getting on a bit now. He's changed a lot over the last few years because it's a stressful job as well. But he's doing a good job. Let's not forget Patrick Vieira was like maybe the new wonder kid of management, wasn't it? Everyone was raving about him, and he's got a Palace, and he's bringing this nice football. And they did all right for that first season, Conor Gallagher pulling the strings. And the second season, it was a bit of a disaster.
Do you think we dish that out too often, the new wonder manager or wonder kid?
Yeah.
Because like I said, it was in like first 4 or 5 games. I remember watching it saying, oh, Patrick Vieira's doing things here.
Yeah, doing bits.
Graham Potter.
Yeah, Graham Potter. De Zerbi's won fewer games than Moyes this season.
Really?
Nuno, he was another one. I was backing him for United.
Mate, yeah, I remember that.
Just because he had a great beard.
Yeah. Hey, do you know what I mean? But Tottenham took a punt on him, didn't they, for all of 9 games, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think we can. And I think it tends to happen. Mind you, Graham Potter's English. I was going to say it tends to happen for him, but it doesn't matter. He's like, if you come into a club, usually a smaller club, and you have a style that people can see, people tend to get carried away.
Who is the best manager outside of the... So you say Klopp and Pep, top 2.
Yeah. Probably.
Who would you say is the best manager out of the rest?
The rest. I don't know.
I'd say, as a manager...
Go on. Is it Emery?
I'd say Emery.
Yeah. Like,
as a proven track record.
I still feel, right... I know it's not been great for tonight. Like, he's not a miles away, because you've got to look at what he did at Ajax. He's one of the few managers in the league who's actually had success. Do you know what I mean? Like, proper success. Like,
is it proper success? I mean, I don't want to...
Nah, because I think that's high stuff, because when he took over at Ajax, they hadn't won a title in 4 years, and he won it every year he was there. I think that's turning that around. And also, the style of football they played. I know you criticise these for starting United, I understand that. But the style of football they played, they were fantastic. The biggest bugbear I've got, right, is that late goal by Lucas Moura for the Spurs against Ajax. Because I will die on the hill that Ajax would have won that Champions League. They would have beaten the Scouts in the final. Yeah, 100% believe that. And it devastates me, because Spurs, once they got to that final, well, like, we've got to the final.
Yeah.
That's us.
You know, in that Champions League, that was one of the worst ever Real Madrid teams that he beat.
No, I'm not listening. But, you know, fair enough. But you beat what's in front of you. You can't knock a player.
Do you think Ten Hag could be comparable as in... Emery?
I think he's in a conversation as like one of the best managers outside the top 2. I think Emery's probably shading it, especially with what he's done. I don't think Postecoglou, because of just the fact that he's a bit of a flavour of the month at the minute. He did well at Celtic. He did well at was it for the Australian national team? But let's be honest here. You know what I mean? What we haven't really seen loads of trophies and stuff where you go in the top leagues. Just looking at, we've got Unai Emery's record there. So Sevilla, he won 3 Europa Leagues, which is obviously fantastic.
3 back-to-back as well.
Back-to-back, which that's phenomenal. Paris Saint-Germain, he won the league, he won the
Go on, pronounce it.
Ligue 1, Coupe de France, Coupe de la Ligue, and then trophy, Des Champions. Hey, Des Champions trophy.
He's won the Europa League a couple of times, hasn't he?
3?
4. Villarreal as well.
Oh, mate.
He won it against us.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. How could I forget? Yeah, so he's got to be the top one, hasn't he? And I'd go in and then...
And it wasn't his fault that he managed a shit club like Arsenal, otherwise he didn't have success.
Do you think they went early with him, though?
Just in defence of Ten Hag over Emery,
Yeah.
and I think it is razor thin, and I can see the argument. Obviously, it's ace winning the Europa League, and I always say it's really hard to win the Europa League. But he is winning the second best competition in Europe 4 times. Yeah. Like, Ten Hag, I know obviously he didn't win the Champions League, but he won the league. He won the best trophy in Holland, whereas Emery wins the second best European trophy. Do you rank Europa League higher than an Eredivisie? Obviously, I think you obviously do.
I feel like, I get your point, because I feel like Ten Hag's at a bit of a disadvantage in the fact that he was in the Champions League, I think, constantly, and he got out of his group, I think,
got to semi-final.
Didn't he get into Europa? I'm pretty sure he went into Europa, Ten Hag.
No, well, he got out of his group when I think he dominated his group, and he got knocked out. Was it Benfica knocked him out in the knockout stages? Or he got to the semi-final. I don't know what happened in the other one. I know when we played in Europa, he wasn't the manager then. But I don't recall him being in Europa. But I think it's quite easy to go Ajax win the league all the time in Holland, and they don't. So I think he did a good job there. I think the one thing with Emery,
isn't it a race of 2 though? Isn't it a competition of 2? In the same way Postecoglou in Scotland was always going to win. If your manager, he's won Europa League with 2 different clubs.
Yeah.
And the competition is different each time.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's for me. I'm with Joe. I think it is quite close. I think I'd give it Emery, but I don't think it's a million miles above him. I think the thing that's going wrong for Ten Hag is this season. I think end of last season, even though the football wasn't great, to finish 3rd and win a trophy, people are going, every season you've been successful. Every season you've been a manager, whether that's getting promoted or, you know, as in your job, being given another job because you've just done a great job at your previous one, or winning a trophy, you have had success after success after success until this season where the wheels have come off for him.
And it's only the FA Cup to play for now.
Yeah, so unless he wins the FA Cup and finishes 4th, in which case people probably go, okay, that's a decent return. But he's having a bit of a stinker. Emery's flying. But, he's, it wasn't that long ago that people were looking at Emery as a bit of a figure of fun, weren't they? Going, can't do it in the Premier League. Whereas Arteta was giving far more leeway, wasn't he?
Yeah, but this is the thing. Is Villa's squad better or worse than Man United?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think
you don't know. Do you not know now? But at the beginning of the season,
I don't know a lot about Villa's squad. I'm not going to lie to you. I know Ollie Watkins and John McGinn and Leon Bailey and players like that. But I'd be lying if I sat here when I know better the entire squad because I don't. But I think I'd expect United to have a better squad than Aston Villa. I think from the players that I do know, I think we've probably got a better team at available 11 than they have when everyone's fit. I'd certainly put our team over Aston Villa's in terms of the depth of the squads. I don't know because I think our the depth of our squad has been getting found out a bit this season. And
that's the thing, isn't it? It's like what Joe was saying. We Villa are sort of defying expectations at the moment. We're at the 2 points off the top, whereas United have fell well below.
I'm always a little bit wary, like how this pans out. I agree. I think Emery's other than Klopp and Guardiola. I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way. I think he is. I just don't think that tonight's a million miles away. I think a big part of this is how does this pan out? If Emery can keep this going and finish, say, 3rd or 2nd, brilliant. But we've seen it before with managers. Something Volley, where you have that mental run and everyone thinks he's amazing and you've got Rio saying, give him the contract and you've got everyone going Ollie's at the wheel. And then they tail off. Now, I thought Postecoglou was going to do this. To be fair, the last couple of games, they've looked better because he had this mad run, didn't he? And then he started losing games. So it'll be interesting to see what Emery does. I mean, at the minute they're flying. And if he was to finish, say, 3rd...
10 points above us.
Yeah, with the squad that he's got, and definitely. But we're only 17 games in, so I still think it's a bit, I don't know, a bit too early to say how well he's doing in this, or how well he's done in the Premier League.
We've seen Leicester do similar things to this as well in recent years. We were talking about the other day, weren't we, Jay, where Leicester, I think it was like the 2020-21 seasons back-to-back, they spent of the, 38 times 2, 76 weeks of the Premier League. They spent 58 of them in the top 4 and didn't finish top 4 either season. Do you remember they lost out in the last day? Yeah. So at the minute, and I think over the last 38 games, which goes back to last season, Villa have won the second most points to Man City. So that is an amazing achievement just by itself. And it's maybe slightly unfortunate for him that he came in halfway through the season.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
But if they finish top 4, that's amazing.
No, it is.
But if, like you said, let's wait and see to the end of the season.
If he finishes
they could still finish 6th, yeah.
If he finishes top 4, that's a much better achievement than Ten Hag doing it. Because he's done it at Aston Villa team that no one expected him to. Where Ten Hag, you are expected to finish top 4, and you're given the funds to do that. Whereas Emery has smashed it. I'm just sort of being a bit cautious around it because I would love to see Villa win the league. You know what I mean? I really would. But I want to see how it pans out because we've seen that, especially when they've got and I don't know, but from what I gather, 1 or 2 players you can, and every team's got this, you're very reliant on. Yeah. And you lose one of them, and then, the wheels can come off, like Joe was saying. Then we've seen it with Leicester. We've seen it with, even to a lesser degree. Arsenal last season kind of fell apart, didn't it? At the end, they went from it was a close title race right until April, and then everything went wrong. Where they drew at Anfield, they drew at home to Southampton, they drew at West Ham when they were 2-0 up. They just kept drawing, and it was in the end, they were all over the gaff in terms of the performances. But just looking at that Villa team, I mean...
Tielemans as well, that was a player we were linked with.
Yeah.
Is he doing any good there this season?
I don't know,
I think this season he has.
Yeah.
But they're at the point now where everyone looks good for him. Do you know, because the team's just playing really well. To go back to Leicester again, 2 or 3 years ago when they were challenging for top 4, everyone was loving Tielemans then. They were loving Soyuncu at centre back. He's better than Harry Maguire. We're glad we sold him. Maddison was amazing. This, that, and the other. And then they had that awful season, and no one wanted Tielemans anymore. He got Villa in the end, but it was going on a free, and no one fancied him. Maddison eventually went to Spurs, but indeed he was another one. Do you remember United were linked with him and they wanted 100 million for him? Now he's playing in the Championship. So it's it can easily come and go. And when you're on this amazing form like Villa are, it's everyone's amazing. We're all fantastic. But you look back 18 months when Gerrard was managing them, but half of these players were still there and they look shit. Confidence and form is such a massive thing. And this is a great team. But like you said, I wouldn't swap United's players for him. I just wish United players were playing
Looking
better.
at that list there, that you've put the list up. You got Ollie Watkins, Leon Bailey, Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, Moussa Diaby. I'm not going to go through the top, but like Pau Torres, Lucas Digne, Tielemans. There's some good players there, but I don't look at it and go, "Wow, that's a team full of world-class players."
No, but and that's credit to Emery. That's what I mean. Yeah. Whereas I think Ten Hag, because he has got a higher caliber of players, or at least the expectation. You know, there are a lot of Champions League winners in that team. Then the expectations is higher, and if we're not getting the same sort of tune out of him, it looks worse because someone like Emery.
Oh, it definitely looks worse.
Because Emery is succeeding.
Million% looks worse for him because obviously.
So what you're saying?
He's far below a Villa team who spent a lot less than him, and he's been in the job practically the same amount of time. So there's nowhere you can go, oh well, I've had less resources, or I've only just got here, or whatever. When you compare him to what Emery's done at Aston Villa, certainly this season as well, then yeah, he is struggling. We know, like I say, Ten Hag's struggling this season, isn't he? Especially when you look at the expectation going into this season. For me, was a lot higher than what we've achieved. I honestly thought we'd be comfortably challenging for that top four, and now it's in debate. I think the only sort of crumb of comfort you can take from what's gone on is you've still got some big players to come back. Like Martinez is such a big player for us. I know I say this every single podcast I'm on, but he is such a big player. Eriksen, I love Eriksen. I think people just started ignoring him like he's done. I don't think he's done at all. And also, there's a player in Mason Mount, man. Do you know what I mean? I think the big problem we've got is we're not scoring any goals. Is it Ollie Watkins got 14 goals? I've just seen then, Matty Cash has got 3. None of our attackers have got 3.
But I mean, this was another thing I wanted to talk about and basically put myself up to get a load of shit on social media. Is that I think Bruno Fernandes's days should be numbered alongside Ten Hag's.
So what, right? So
I think he's 30 in September. And I think yesterday, whilst Manchester United obviously didn't have the most productive game of football when it comes to attacking, we did show a structure that is away from the sort of erratic shape of Bruno Fernandes, because he does like to run around a lot and wave his arms like one of them inflatables outside a car wash.
The only issue I've got with that,
was it metaphor?
You praised that midfield, yeah, and I think Kobe Manu played well. I'm
not praising the midfield. What I'm saying to you,
but I for me, and I'm sorry, there's no way in a million years I would pick Scott McTominay over Bruno Fernandes.
No, but Casemiro's due to come back.
I think there's more question marks over Casemiro, even his longevity at the club,
than
Bruno. And also, you're going off age. Bruno Fernandes turns 30. Casemiro's 31 now.
Well, I'm already sort of resigned to Casemiro going in January or in the summer anyway. But I think when you look at Ratcliffe coming in the summer, the question was at the beginning, is it a lifeline or a delay? If we're building towards a future, Manu played a sort of number 6, didn't he, yesterday, in the same sort of way of Frankie de Jong that we were looking for. That was a sort of ilk play we were after. I just think Fernandes 30 next year, is he the sort of player that we should be pinning or building a team around, and has he got the sort of structure within him? What do you make of his temperament? He's a little bitch, to be honest. Let's have it right.
I'll be honest with you, I love Bruno. I do.
Whinging all the time.
But I'd be whinging if I was him in that team. I really would. And I think I think the world's got mad with these 5 goals with Scott McTominay. Like, I do. We seem to have built our team around Scott McTominay because he scored in 3 Premier League games. Right. And I don't really get it. My
criticism of Fernandes isn't my defence of Scott McTominay.
No, but I think they're related, because I think since Scott McTominay's become like the 10, we are pushing him forward. You don't care where he starts. Watch the games. Watch where he ends up. Watch where he is in the pitch. Bruno's being shifted further back in the pitch. Isn't his best position. The bad traits about Bruno start coming out more with the 70-yard passes and all the other stuff that you mentioned as well, like he's trying to run everywhere and all that. I think Bruno's just better when he's further forward. I do. He's far more effective, and we saw ridiculous numbers when he was playing there. But we've moved him about to accommodate McTominay, and I don't get that, mate.
Right. So is that a criticism of the manager then? So is either Fernandes is a bad player or he's being used wrong? Which one is it?
He's being used wrong.
Right. So would you rather keep Ten Hag or Fernandes? If Ten Hag,
it's not binary, innit? I'd rather Ten Hag put Fernandes where he needs to go.
Right. But if it's one or the other,
I wouldn't pick Bruno Fernandes over my manager. No, but I don't think Scott McTominay should be starting every week.
No, I completely agree with you. And
I'm not knocking him because he's got 5 Premier League goals. He's our top scorer in the Premier League. That's great. I just find it, for me, a bit bonkers that, I watched that game yesterday at Anfield like you did. I watched the game against Bayern Munich like you did. I watched the game against Bournemouth. And I'm sorry, and people are going to lever me for this, but Scott McTominay was a passenger for that game, for those
Yeah,
games.
I don't think Scott McTominay is a great player by any stretch, and I'm.
And I like the fact, like, listen, the goals are important, and I get that. But I feel like with McTominay, and he does do some other bits, if he's not scoring, he doesn't offer you anything.
No.
Do you know what I mean? That's the issue you've got. Bruno Fernandes, don't get me wrong, I get annoyed when he's all over the gaff. I get annoyed when he's doing things. But there's certain things I see Bruno doing, like, probably not frequently enough, and I think he's the only one that could do that. Like, he's the only one that can, I don't know, you know, hit that volley against Burnley. I wouldn't trust anyone else to do that. I think, and plus, when you're Bruno Fernandes, you know, I think he's created more chances than any midfielder this season other than, I can't remember.
Why haven't we created the least amount of chances for Rasmus Højlund this year?
No, he's had the least passes to him. It's the difference, the natural chances created.
Right.
So I think it might even be going back this season and last season for Bruno. But he's always productive. I think if you've got 3 attackers in front of you, you've got, is it 2 Premier League goals between our 3 attackers?
Yeah.
That's not helping either. I'm not saying Bruno's faultless. He isn't. I think there's flaws there, and especially when the chips are down, he can frustrate me even. But for me personally, I just think he's one of our last issues. Joe, what do you think? Do you think, do you agree with Scotty, or do you think that Bruno is a problem we need to solve?
I think he's got issues, but I think he's one of my favourite players, Bruno.
Yeah.
I think that if you look at the midfield and with McTominay playing and all that, McTominay didn't play last season when everyone was fit. And I think I would expect the same to happen again this season. I think if we get to a point where Casemiro's back, Mount's back, Eriksen's back, and McTominay's still starting, then I think that conversation about what is the manager doing here, like what are you playing at, that starts to raise its head again. But the minute the only player that he's been picked ahead of McTominay is either Mainu or Amrabat, depending on the day. And obviously, I think Mainu hasn't earned a starting spot because of his age and because of the fact that you don't want to bring someone in every single week when they're 18, because it can massively damage their career, especially if they're losing every other week like we are at the minute. And Amrabat has, up until sort of, the end of November, looked pretty bang average. So I think if he starts, like I said, if he starts playing him ahead of like Casemiro and Eriksen and Mount, then we can have that conversation. But I think with Bruno, there are parts of his personality in particular that I think are quite detrimental to his ability to be at his best, especially in difficult games. Like the Atletico Madrid game away from home and at home last season, both of them, I thought you've just seen an erratic, like almost scared footballer at times. And like you said, them 70-yard passes where he's dropping deep and just booting it forward. You think, let's actually try and create an attack here.
That annoys me.
There's no composure. He hasn't got composure.
That's what I mean. He is flawed. I'm not disputing that.
He has composure in big moments in front of the goal, or one-on-one with the keeper, or big penalties. He still has composure. I know he's missed a couple, but generally speaking, his record is amazing with penalties. But it's almost like a sort of game management thing. And maybe I think if the team around him was more productive, and maybe if he got used to winning a bit more, then he wouldn't necessarily have that issue. I think maybe once he realises what it actually takes to win a game that you're losing, or to hold on to a game, the big game that you're winning a few times, then he'll lose a bit of that. But yeah, I don't love certain traits about him, but I think just his productivity. There's so many players around him, like Bruno gets you, no question of a doubt. Minimum 15 goals and assists a season together. Minimum. Usually 20, sometimes 30, nearly 40. It was 40 one year when it was 50 one year. So when you've got players like Rashford who will, every other year drops 6 goals and assists. Martial, who just doesn't do anything. Anthony, who's got, I think, 8 or 9 goals and assists since he joined. Like, having someone like Bruno in there probably feels like he's got to do it all himself, because look at him this year. Even if he passes to him, they're not going to score. So I don't think I would say that I think he needs to go, Bruno, or that we should move on from him. But there are definitely things about him that makes me question, can he get to that top level in terms of just being a machine that wins week in, week out? I'm not sure.
You made a point, though. Like, you've got Casemiro's 31. Joe's just mentioned, he didn't mention Anthony, but Anthony, he could have mentioned Anthony's got no goals.
I did mention him.
Oh, did you? Sorry. Yeah. That's got to be a worry of your Erik tonight, because you bought these players.
Yeah, of course.
And like these players, you can go Varane, I inherited. Bruno, if you don't rate him, I inherited. Somebody I inherited. Martial I inherited. But you spend a lot of money on Casemiro, who might be done. Anthony, who for me is not good enough. Højlund's too harsh, because I know he's not got any Premier League goals. He's a kid. Do you know what I mean? He's probably just been running to the ground. It's not his fault. But that can do for you, can't it, as a manager? Because when your players that you bought aren't playing, then the owners will start looking, going, are we going to give this guy another 300 million to go again, or are we going to get rid?
Well, you pin your career to them you know, your time at a club through them.
I'd be worried if I was him because of those. That'd be my concern for if I was Ten Hag. Well, I'd be looking at some of my players that I've brought in. Especially, I don't keep going on about him, but like Mount, you can go, okay, he's been injured a lot. So, and Onana, he needed that yesterday. Onana needed just a drama-free, clean sheet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Didn't have a lot to do, but did it okay. Do you know what I mean? Whereas he's had games where you've been like, especially in the Champions League, like, what is going on here, mate? It's almost like he's, decided he didn't want to be in the Champions League.
But the thing is with the new players maybe not fitting in immediately, especially the ones from the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
You tend to get like a year's grace where they can sort of bed in, especially if you look at the whole Pep Guardiola and Grealish situation, or Sterling or whatever. But because the rest of the team are playing so bad, there's nowhere to hide. Do you know what I mean? Anthony had a bad season last year, but it was okay because Marcus Rashford.
Marcus on the other side scoring 30 goals.
It's all right, mate.
You can do 6.
And then maybe Marcus Rashford has come into work this season and go like, wait, are you turning up today? I was grafting all.
It's a great point. Good teams like dovetail, don't they? When one, like, do you remember when
you need that? You can't have one man carrying the weight all the time.
Do you remember he went 10 games without a goal and Rooney stepped up.
But we don't have that, and that's why we've gone to shit so far, because we haven't got anyone to fill Marcus Rashford's boots when he can't be asked scoring himself, and that's a massive concern for Ten Hag's management. How do you have a player that did what Rashford did last year and still fail to get out of him this year? You can say it's Marcus's fault, but if you're the manager, you're supposed to get the best out of him. Do
you put a bit of finger on a bit of blame on Ten Hag?
It has to be. I'm not saying it's all down to him. There's a lot on the player. I think Rashford had to move his position a little bit with the arrival of Højlund and stuff, but still, I think the left or on the wing is probably Marcus's best position. But some of it, like if you're Ten Hag's seniors and you're like saying, well, his job is to get the best out of the players he's got. If he's not doing it, then maybe he's not the man for the job. But we asked at the beginning, was it a lifeline or a delay? We're going into Christmas. What could Ten Hag find in his sack that could save his job? What would you put in Ten Hag's sack? If you could grab hold of Ten Hag's sack and put something in it, what would it be?
You couldn't get it for Christmas, but in January I'd get him another striker.
Right, that would be. Do you think? But considering we can't create chances as strikers,
I know, but I think we need at least another option than what we've got, because you've got a kid who's getting run into the ground, and I always almost think he's beginning to look a little bit jaded at times already. Like we're wearing this lad down, and I feel for him because it's not his fault. Do you know what I mean? He's been sold a bad one, and I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we've got any money. We might bring in this kid Garassi, who's scoring 18 goals in 14 games this season, but let's not pretend we'd all heard of him before this season. But yeah, I do worry for Ten Hag. Do you think with Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in? I just don't want Graham Potter. I don't want. That's another thing that's been decided.
Right, well, let's not talk about his replacement. Yes or no? We're looking ahead to 2024. Do you think Ten Hag will be United manager by the end of the season? Yes or no?
Yes. Oof. If you'd have lost yesterday, I'd have said no as well. Honestly, that's how
on a knife edge.
Yeah, like honestly, I think he'll see it through to the end of this season.
Joe, what saves Ten Hag's job, and do you think he'll be gone by the end of the season?
What saves him his job would be top 4, I think.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, because we don't know what the standards of Jim Ratcliffe are, do we? We know what the Glazers expect, and we know what they sort of, they'll keep someone if they get top 4. And do I expect him to be at the end of the season? I honestly think it's 50-50. If I'm actually predicting, I think maybe not. I would keep him.
Yeah.
I think I would definitely give him to the end of the season no matter what, and I'd give him another transfer window. And just on the his players thing, I feel bad for him that we've had to sign just people that he's picked. Like we've talked about the scouting. Like he's not a scout. He's not a director of football. He's not. He shouldn't be sanctioning every single player. He should give his suggestions and have ideas of who he likes. But it shouldn't just be on him. This joke of like everyone United buy is someone that Ten Hag has worked with. That shouldn't be the case.
Oh, it's like that, isn't it? It's bad because even Fergie didn't do that. No. Fergie wasn't watching Chicharito when he was 17. Do you know what I mean? Do you think Fergie's like, I'm just popping over to Mexico to watch this youngster?
Yeah.
No, he had a scout that he trusted, who went, there's a young kid here who's mint, who'll fit in at United.
Where's all the Aberdeen players at United?
Well, Jim Layton, Gordon Strachan's already there, yeah, that was it.
But he didn't bring loads and loads with him. And just looking at,
Jim Layton was that
you know, the squad you inherit and all that, and obviously Ten Hag is trying to change it. But when Carlo Ancelotti won the Champions League with Real Madrid, he'd been there for a full season, and there was one player that he signed in that starting 11. So he won it with the previous team. Obviously, Ten Hag doesn't have the ability to come in and win big trophies with last year's team or the season before's team because it was shit. And our biggest, most highly paid player basically sacked himself by going on Piers Morgan's channel. But it's slightly unfortunate for Ten Hag that he has to rebuild this team again.
That's the thing. Whoever comes in, the baseline for every Manchester United post-Ferguson has been shit, hasn't it? That's what you sort of building on sand, aren't you, a lot of the time?
That's a great point, because it's like, all of them. Van Gaal came in after Moyes and it was a disaster, and he steadied it a little bit, but the football was obviously horrible. Jose came in after we'd won the FA Cup, we finished 6th. Yeah. He did well in his first season, and his second season was quite good, especially in retrospect, but obviously he fell out with everyone by the end. And all we know what happened there. So yeah, that is a worry. Joe, appreciate you coming on the podcast, bro.
Yeah, thank you
for having me. Thank you. Always fun.
What's happening with the Slopsters?
Well, all sorts is going on. We've got a Christmas special coming out. And then we've got one coming out on Boxing Day. The slop shop is there. Don't worry about it.
Slop shop. Selling merch and that.
I suggested that me and you do merch.
We can. Just because they've done merch doesn't mean we can't.
2 years ago.
No, we've done that now.
2 years ago. And then since then, we've touted the idea of having Scotty and Motty dildos. You're having none of that as well.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And putting our faces dildos, on the end of it.
When you think dildos, think Scotty and Motty.
Yeah.
That's our tagline.
S&M. Telling you, it fucking works, man. It works. Anyway, you didn't ask my opinion on Ten Hag.
No, I'm getting to that. Oh, right, what's your opinion on Ten Hag?
I think he should have been sacked months ago.
I mean, I didn't know. I wanted to give you the opportunity to share that. But
get Nagelsmann in. You seen that man's blazers? No? Right, well, I'll try to convince him to get the German national coach and his striking Taylor sartorial gear. He drives a skateboard as well. Do you drive a skateboard? Who knows?
He rides a skateboard?
He rides a skateboard.
What sort of wokeism is this?
What?
Hipster. Does he eat avocado as well? Pathetic. Hey.
I've been Scotty, that's been Motty. It's been good to be back. Thank you, Joe. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, brother.